special edition of WUSA 9, A Marine's Mysterious Death. And good evening, I'm Adam Longo. Tonight, we're focusing in on a young Marine who was posted here in D.C. for more than a year while he trained to be a member of the elite Presidential Guard, serving his country and his commander-in-chief at Camp David, the presidential retreat in northern Maryland. His name was Corporal Kyle Farrell, and he was killed just a few miles away from his post. It's an unsolved mystery. The person responsible hasn't been caught. I went to the Maryland State Police Barracks to do some digging on this case, and they opened the books to me and my crew. Corporal Farrell's family and friends still searching for answers and justice.
The weather was horrendous.
It was raining really hard.
You couldn't see anything that night.
He introduced himself as a volunteer fighter.
In the heavy rain, Michael Crone started having problems with his car. He pulled over onto the shoulder and called for a tow truck.
See somebody on the side of the road, you know, Mama, we need to stop and help them. And it'd be like, according to where we are, I'm like, I don't know if that's a very good idea. Yeah, oh, come on, we'll be fine. You always want to stop and help somebody,
That yearning to help is what drew Marine Corporal Kyle Farrell to the shoulder of Route 15, just south of Thurmont, Maryland.
He had the big, huge lights in the back. In fact, he had the big front lights, and I thought at first he was the tow truck. And he said, you know, let me go back and get a raincoat. So I see this thing go by. There was also kind of a noise, and you know, it's all at the same time, like a whoom.
His door was completely torn off, the driver's side door.
We could see a body on the road.
You felt like you needed to help?
Yes.
Right after that, I could actually see Corporal Farrell. He was right outside my window, like right about, you know, there in the traffic.
We need assistance, like, you know, and it was just taking forever, and like, what do we do at this point?
He was not responding in any way whatsoever.
We checked for a pulse, but
I know I will see him again. It won't be on earth, it'll be in heaven. And I look forward to that.
In Kyle's hometown of Carthage, North Carolina, there was no doubt service to others was Kyle's calling.
I first met Kyle when he was about 8 years old. I was the T-ball coach. I knew at an early age that he was going to be supportive of the community.
He joined the fire department when he was 16.
He was there side by side with me, going inside a burning building.
He's always told me when we were growing up, he said, I wanted to be in law enforcement.
He'll see a car on the side of the road, you know, with the four-way flashers on, and he'll just look at his friend who's just like, hey, I'm gonna stop and render my assistance.
When he took leave time from Camp David, Kyle often made the long drive home. He did ride-alongs with the County Sheriff's Office patrol unit.
We would go on calls together, and after we cleared a call, of course, we would talk about the calls. He was at an early age of wanting to know everything he could know before he got on the road.
And all he wanted to do was come home and join Carthage Police Department and, you know, finish his life here. He wanted to come back home.
He wanted more emergency lights in his vehicle so that when he was stopped on the side of the road, people can see that he is stopped.
He had had some close calls and said, Kyle, man, just please be careful. It didn't slow him down a bit, though. He wanted to continue helping people.
He just came to me and was like, hey, man, I need some more lights. Gotcha, man.
I pulled out in front of somebody and got into a car accident. And after we called 911, here come this black truck in with his lights on, and it was Kyle.
A few months before Kyle's death, Sandra Forrest was in Thurmont, involved in an accident of her own.
He was so cute and just so nice, and he just came in there and helped. Just pulled over to help.
To say that he was a good person would be not saying enough. The boy, he never met anybody that he didn't want to help. He wanted to help anyone he could, as much as he could.
If Corporal Farrell hadn't pulled over, it's quite likely I would have been just sitting in the car like this, and it would have been my car that got hit, you know, and so I probably would have died if that had, you know, if he had not pulled over. It's just a random chance thing.
The only reason why he was there was to help somebody else. And he ended up getting hit and killed, and then ultimately the person who did it drove off.
One of the most frustrating parts about this for Kyle's family and for the troopers investigating the case is that there's no clear picture of what the suspect vehicle looked like exactly. You know, the witnesses all agree that it was some sort of heavy-duty pickup truck hauling a flatbed with 1 or 2 cars on it, but it was extremely dark and it was raining like crazy. After the accident, the truck driver stopped way down here, about 500 feet away, but it was too far away for anyone to see the license plate, the driver themselves, or even the color of that vehicle. And then it drove away. So as we look at the photos, your recollection of being on the scene, you know, what stands out to you, the damage to the vehicle?
There's no movement to Corporal Farrell's truck. I mean, where he parked is where his truck remains.
He had his door open?
Yes, he did.
Is it fair to say he just never saw it coming?
Yeah, I think he was, at the time he was reaching for his jacket. He might have retrieved it at that time, and then as he was coming out, he was struck. Probably never saw it coming.
Sergeant Michael Taluski is an accident reconstruction specialist with the Maryland State Police. He was there the night of Kyle's accident, and there was evidence found right where the suspect vehicle had pulled over. Pretty big piece?
Yeah, it was probably a 3.5 foot piece of metal. So a substantial piece of the vehicle was embedded in there.
So it just took a chunk of Kyle's vehicle, pulled it out of his trailer, threw it into the grass or into the woods,
yep,
and then took off.
And then drove off.
So there were only 2 witnesses to the accident, really, and neither of them really saw anything.
No, they didn't.
It was only later that other people that had stopped for the accident told me that he had left, because initially he pulled off. You still couldn't really make out the vehicle very well. I mean, it was, I'm not sure how far that is, but it might be a quarter mile or something, you know, and it was in the dark.
Sergeant Taluski believes it was the car trailer being towed that hit Kyle and his truck, something that may have looked like this. He noted no paint was scratched off the suspect vehicle and transferred onto Kyle's truck.
So the trailer wouldn't have been damaged that much. So there's really
just
nothing to
scraped
fix.
Up like
yeah, so there's really nothing to fix. There's really nothing to, you know, there's no way, you know, nothing to turn into an insurance company.
And perhaps then, only one person who knows the whole story of what happened.
I made a bunch of stickers that go on the side of our helmets. And I mean, every time I put that on there, he's on our mind and everything, and he's looking over us.
I want to do something to just keep his name alive. Something to when somebody sees it, somebody to ask a question. You know, who was he? And so I wanted to do this for him.
Is it hard for you to drive that stretch of road every day? Does it bring back the memory every day?
It does. And you put your hand over your heart when you pass his sign.
How could you drive away and leave my baby laying there?
Come to even and give his family and friends the peace of mind as far as who did this.
How could you not at least tell us you're sorry?
It's got to be digging at him, you know, and it would just be easier to turn yourself in.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Ask for our forgiveness, you know.
Nothing's going to bring him back, but to bring closure not only to the friends, but ultimately to the family.
He was going to be a great police officer.
There's a lot of good memories.
He just came across as this great guy that just pulled in.
So every time I see a vehicle on the side of the road, I hear his voice telling me to make sure they're okay.
And this guardian angel that came to help.
Kyle's case has gone unsolved now for 764 days, 0 hours, 41 minutes, 7 seconds and counting. Maryland State Police has exhausted all the leads they followed in this case. They're at a dead end at this point. Now, where the accident happened, just south of Thurmont, Maryland, right here along Route 15. And this road, Route 15, it stretches for almost 800 miles to the north to Painted Post, New York, to the south to Walterboro, South Carolina. That suspect could be anywhere. Between the family and Metro Crime Stoppers, there's a sizable reward for information that could get troopers on the right track. You can stay anonymous. And here's the number, 1-866-7-LOCK-UP. That'll be on my Facebook page, Adam Longo TV, and on our WUSA 9 app.